Hey everybody, it's Stove Talk with Matt. I'll leave a link to the original video. The channel from Russia is called Brick Stove Masonry. This is a really good guy. He's a real professional in what he does. I wanted to use this to show you this example. To me, this is the most common type of Russian masonry heater or Russian stove in Russia. And if you have the time, money, or you just want to take a year and go slow, I mean, this is the way to do it. I mean, the design is foolproof. I'll talk about where he puts the dry slit here, some of the basic principles as to how to build this. I'll probably keep this under 10 minutes, but you just can't go wrong with this design. It is similar to it's called European counterflow masonry heater, but I think this is similar to the at stove.ru, the free plans from Igor Kuznetsov. It's OIC or OIK 4, stove 4 for heating stoves is very similar to this. So same principle as to most masonry heaters. It is a refractory or fire brick firebox inside of a regular brick box. Pretend these bricks on the outside are just like regular red bricks. These are not, even though it's just a color choice. They're not refractory bricks. These channels on the sides are refractory. So it's a refractory box inside of a red brick box. Again, these are just chosen for their color. So I'll show you different parts of this video as well. I'm going to bounce around a little bit, but let me go back here. High firebox burns up 95% of the smoke, having a high firebox that's relatively thin. Too wide of a firebox lets too much air go all over the place, creates cold spots, which creates smoke. This to me is perfect. It's wide enough, it's thin enough where the heat's reflected back and forth to burn up the smoke. It'll be a high firebox. At the top of the firebox, this will go up, I don't know, 5 or 6 more rows. There'll be a hole here in the front and a hole here in the front over here. The gases will go down this descending channel, underneath a 3 brick opening, and up this ascending channel. The ascending channel is always smaller and thinner than the descending channel in these designs. So you just, I don't know, we'll look, 2 or 3 brick open, the gases will go over here. There'll be an opening up here. Gases will go here, down, under a 3 brick opening, and then up this back channel into a second bell. There'll be another box on top. And for just really ease of use, you'd put at the top of this firebox, you'd put a damper that on something that twists, that opens up, 8 inches by 6 inches, a damper that slides back and forth or opens up. These stoves need to be primed in some way. Just if anybody's new here, you can't just have a design that goes high firebox up, down here, up, and then into another. The upper bell, we'll see what he has in the video going forward. The upper bell will also in some way hide the chimney for a while so the gases stay in the upper bell as long as possible. If you don't prime this, it will smoke your house out. You can't just light this and expect it to work. So let's go back here. He just has this regular red brick. It's not refractory at this level because this is just basically he's just constructing the ash pit that won't get that hot. The ash pit he's done in regular red brick. This door here allows the air to come in under a grate, which they call a blower. The air is sucked in here, will come up through the firebox through a grate system. So let's bounce around like that. Still he's just built a red brick base in here to hold the base of the firebox that he will build. Starting to build, he builds the side channels on their own first. That's interesting, using refractory on the side. And it's going to be a 2-part grate. He'll have another. I like this. If you're going to let the air flow through, if you're going to use a grate, let the air flow. I mean, your wood will be burned up very, very quickly. You won't get more than an hour and a half burn. But the idea behind this type of stove is to absolutely create ridiculous temperatures. I don't know what it would get up to. some say close to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, but you only burn it twice a day. You don't keep it burning all day long. And there's no doubt having the air come up through a grate does help create those short-term ridiculous temperatures. So you burn it twice a day, then there's so much mass and brickwork, it'll hold the heat. So it's only burning at the most 4 hours a day, and it's throwing out heat the other 20 hours a day. So this all refractory fire brick, of course. And let's bounce along here. Side channels. Okay, there's building the dry, pretty good thick dry slot, dry joint, or dry seam, which the Russians are big on. You know, I have my issues and problems with it. Allows some hot gases to immediately get into the first descending channel over here without having to go all the way up. It helps in priming, no doubt, but most Russians believe it. We don't want to get into it. I have other videos. It magically separates cold gases from hot gases, which I think is completely wrong and bullcrap. It can be helpful, the dry slot, but here he's, look, overall, does this guy know more than me? Of course. But here it's just we'll just stick with the computer animation. See, this is the dry slit here. I don't want to turn this into a dry slit discussion, but I'll wrap this up in less than a minute. If that dry slot, let me just tell you, if it, let's say it was a little bit too far forward, or it needs to be, that dry slot needs to, in my opinion, needs to be in a location where the fire the flame itself will be pulled through. The fire itself will be pulled through. If it's in a location where it's going to get some cold air leaking in, or air can, let's say it was farther forward, some air could rush up through the front of the grate, not be superheated, and get into that through the dry slot into that first chamber. It could act as an air conditioner in that first chamber, cool the first chamber, which would create a decent amount of smoke. So, if you're going to use these dry slots, make sure they're low enough and close enough to the fire where they'll get flame shooting through. I like them for priming and stuff. I don't like them for the reason that Kuznetsov describes, that somehow the cold gases will magically separate. You don't want cold gases to rush into the first descending chamber unless you like to smoke out your neighbors and your neighborhood. Anyway, that's for another time. But the principles here, see, he's stuffing the insulation around the refractory. Always has to be a gap of at least 1/4 inch between, or sometimes they use cardboard, real cardboard, and then if it burns up, it burns up. Has to be a gap and a space between your regular red brick and your refractory brick, because the refractory brick expands out and will crack the red brick. So here it's better what he's done. He's used the ceramic soft insulation. You don't need this. I mean, you don't need the 2,000 degree insulation, which is very expensive. Some people just use regular cardboard, and then it burns up, but then it leaves the space. So as long as as long as the masonry of your refractory brick can stand on its own, it should be able to stand on its own and not need to lean against the outer brick, because they expand at different rates. Again, you'll crack your outer brick. It's very, very important. I think the refractory can touch here. He's even created a space between his refractory side channels and his main fire channel. I think the refractory can touch the refractory. He's being safe here. This guy, does a nice job. This is support. I think overall, my opinion is a lot of these Russians do too much reinforcement. They reinforce low, and they're not going to have this at every level. Maybe this guy only uses it maybe twice. But I've seen it like this reinforcement at lower levels. I don't understand that. But it's at lower levels, the brick's not going anywhere. I mean, the regular Russian brick is close to 10 inches long. It's not going anywhere. Plus, metal expands at a different rate than brick. I don't know. As you go high up, if a stove goes, if it goes 6, 7, 8, 9 feet up, or for the top bell, you should have some sort of reinforcement. And there are different Russians do it in different ways. I'm not sure. Well, it would be better than nothing, I guess, and these guys know more about it than me. Just saying, I don't think you need any My masonry heater only goes up about 5 feet. There's no reinforcement at all, and it's just not tall enough. It's the brick's not going anywhere. They maybe use more reinforcement because they might use the traditional 3-part sand to 1-part clay, and that doesn't really have any real glue. I like 3 parts for your outer brick. I like 3 parts sand to 1 part clay to 1 part lime, and a little dash of type S or type N cement just to hold everything in place. Sets up hard quickly so you can keep working. It gets kind of sticky in just a few minutes. Where 3 parts sand and 1 part clay, it's hard to keep working, especially if you have a brick that's not real porous. It can slide around a bit. And anyway, let's finish this up. I've probably already gone too long. This is the most common Russian design. Let me see what the top, if I can share. I haven't even talked about the top bell yet. The top bell. Are we going to get into the... Oh, yeah, I've seen this video before. It's all blurred out for some reason. I don't think he intended to do that. We're not going to see the top bell, but at some point, there's your dry slots. Yeah, they're in a good location. You're gonna load this big ass firebox with 4 or 5 pieces of oak. It's gonna rage flames. The flames are gonna be sucked in to the side channels. And if the flames are sucked into the side channels to the dry slot, I actually think it can actually act as almost like a secondary air to eat up more smoke. But you don't need these dry slots. You don't, especially if you put a damper. I guess he's not going to show the upper bell. The top of the firebox, a sliding damper or a damper with a metal rod. They're fire speaking. Like I keep mentioning, they're not paying me anything, guys. It's just a reasonable place to get supplies. Firespeaking.com. They have them with the long handles, and you let the flame go right up into the second bell to prime everything, and you let it heat up for 10 minutes. Then you close your damper off with the handle. Then that drives the gases in this design down the front channel, then up the back channel into the second bell. Same thing on this side, down the front, up the back, into the second bell. And then once the gases shoot up, the second bell there'll be like a brick ceiling on top of all this. The only way to get into the second bell will be 2 small squares, which will be the continuation of these back channels. And then at the same thing, you'd hide the chimney. Your chimney would be low, your upper bell may be a box of 14 bricks high, but your chimney will start at the bottom, but with a 3 brick opening. So the idea is more hot gases will collect in the upper bell. Stratify, I don't want to get into that, my opinion on that magical stratification. Either way, this design works. And then they'll slip under the 3 brick opening into the final chimney and out. So this design is especially if you can put the damper in. It's foolproof. It's rock solid. It's just great. It's absolutely my dream in life is to have like this in my home someday. I made one third the size of this. It's not like this. It's just, Matt, that's your dream in life over having another girlfriend or having another relationship with, yeah, absolutely. I'd rather have the stove at this point. Thanks for listening, guys.